picks, so we're going to just dive right into stuff we like. So, Bob, why don't you go ahead and start us off? What do you got this week?
Oh, shit. I didn't even think about that. Okay.
Do you need a second? Do you want Steph to go?
I do. I don't know what I did this week.
Steph, you got to have some anime about someone turning into a slime queued up, right?
Oh, I do that anime, but it's not that, anything new. We actually just hit season finale of the current run. All the animes were hitting their thing. This is the one, though, where I feel hoodwinked. I feel bamboozled because we went into it. Me and Mike talked about it. This is supposedly the final season of Attack on Titan. They keep calling it the final season, but here's the actual truth. It is the first half of the final season.
That's how they get you.
Because you know when the second half is? They say they where they would normally show the preview for the next episode. They said coming in the winter of 2022. We have to wait over a year.
A little bit of a wait. Is this going to be Attack on Titan Z?
So they left us at a hell of a cliffhanger. The most popular character on the show, is he dead? A big collision of two of the other pivotal characters. It's really good. Meanwhile, Mike, I made Mike a soft boy. Mike is just one of these soy boys like me now, watching all these rom-com animes. He's in on it. But Quintessential Quintuplets hit their season finale. Really loved it. Couldn't get enough. And we got the third season coming, so that'll be the final season itself. Fortunately, they will not do us dirty and split it into two, but we'll probably have to wait a year on that. I couldn't get enough of it, so my venture this week was I created a Japanese Nintendo account. What does that do? It allows you to log into the Japanese Nintendo eStore. And I bought a Quintessential Quintuplets Nintendo Switch game, which is only in Japanese. So I was telling Mark, what I am doing is to literally play this game, I hover my cell phone with the Google Translate via the camera, and it just converts all the kanji and hiragana into English for me. And I need to invest in some type of phone holder that hovers over my Switch for me, because two-handing it is a little tough. But I was telling Mark,
that app is important, bro. That's how I did laundry in Austria, was with that app. I needed to pull it up to the machine.
Look, I will say, I always made fun of the idea of Google Glass, I was going to say computer glasses. I was like, that's stupid. Why would I ever want that in my thing? And I'm like, oh, it translates foreign languages for you in live real time. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. That's actually a very valuable feature, especially if you're into traveling. Yep. And, we're talking about vaccinations, and I don't know about your family and all them, but all my family ever talks about is where we want to go whenever we can again. The first trips we do. My niece, she's been studying Japanese for several months. So we're thinking for her birthday next March, which is a year from now, we'll go as a family to Japan, reward her. It's the only thing she's ever really wanted, is to get to see Tokyo and all that. And all of us, we've been to Tokyo, and it meant a lot to us going there and everything, because that's always been one of our destinations. But so I like Google Translate and I like anime. And the two of those things are merging together. It's a management simulator game. I'm sure Mike would have had questions for me about it. He was asking me a little bit about it, but I'll fill him in on that next time we get to chat.
I mostly like how they're quintuplets, and yet you still can't get enough. How many copies do they have to make for you, Stefan, until you're satisfied with as many of these?
It is just the best show. It's just the best. It is. That is all my reality TV, all those seasons of Bachelor that people love. That's all those feelings I have for this quintuplet show.
Nice. Bob, you got a couple minutes. Is that enough time, or do you want me to go?
I'm good.
Okay,
I got mine are pretty simple. I didn't watch a ton of stuff. A lot of my viewing on the weekend time was taken by me laying in bed. By the way, those of you getting vaccinated, you should go to Staples. They will laminate your card for free.
Oh, nice.
Obviously, do that after the second one.
Well, yeah, because they have to still write on it, right?
Exactly. I told you this. I've mentioned it a bunch of times, but the New Day podcast was in rare form these last 2 weeks, especially this week. They're doing the greatest toy ever bracket.
That's a fun one.
And at this point, the second episode, the second week is them doing the second half of the bracket of the first round. Mm-hmm. But at this point, they've just devolved into being angry at their producer, Dan Reichert, for having shitty toys in there and not having the right toys.
Sorry, what is the bracket? What is the category?
Best toys ever. just toys, not video games.
That's very
toys.
broad. That's a very broad.
Well, that's the thing. Well, like they're unhappy that like Transformers is in there, and he just said he's just like, all right, next up, a tire with a stick.
What's it, 1920s or something?
Yeah, and then like Austin Creed is just like, Dad, you got. And there's a they curse on the podcast, but not really. They beep it. You just hear like Kofi Kingston just make a long expletive at the end, like beep, Dan, why?
That is good.
Yeah, it's you guys know we did a bunch of brackets. We probably got the idea first from these guys. It's a fun way to do a podcast, and you got 3 charismatic dudes on there. So, if you're wondering who the New Day are, those GIFs you saw of people putting Photoshop of Ngannou getting lifted in the air by Usman and Adesanya, that was the New Day. They put their faces on, picking up Ngannou. The other one was I was able to listen to How Did This Get Made for the first time in a while, and I say able to listen to because that's a hard podcast to listen to if you haven't seen the movie.
Right.
And they did one about the Justice League Snyder Cut, but it wasn't like a usual version of their podcast. And most of their podcast is just making fun of a movie. This was like they got into a serious discussion about why this worked versus why the Whedon cut didn't work, and the things they really liked, some of the things they didn't like, and it was, I thought Stefan would find it interesting, though I imagine at this point Stefan's probably listened about and watched 17 different things about the Snyder Cut. So he might be all Snyder Cut it out.
I also like the Snyder Cut the least of us, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know you also aren't the biggest Jason Mantzoukas fan either, but he's he's not really roughing it up too much in this. But I'm a big fan of that podcast, and they did a really good job. By the way, there's a black and white version of the Snyder Cut now. Like, is that a thing? You see that? Like,
sure.
It's on HBO. It's just
Does
great.
it also come in a resolution to fit on like my Nokia cell phone? Like what other wonky choices would he like to make?
I did like that Mantzoukas is like, this movie started, I saw it was at 4:3, and I said, fuck you, Snyder. Just fuck you. And I was like, okay, we're on the same page.
I will say, when I've heard Mantzoukas on podcasts, I like him infinitely more than every character he plays. I hate the character he plays, but when he's actually his normal self, I think he's a much more digestible person, I guess.
Exactly. And then, not to make this sad, because I'm going to talk about it in happy terms, but we lost Jessica Walter this week, who played Lucille Bluth and Mallory Archer.
You know who else she played? Because I was saying, she's a Hall of Fame mom. I didn't know she was the mom on Dinosaurs. You remember Dinosaurs from back in the day?
I did not know that.
I like Dinosaurs from back in the day.
I mean, like, her playing...
I'm the baby, gotta love me. I remember that show.
Her playing Mallory Archer was also just her playing Lucille Bluth in a different show, really. Just one of the greatest TV moms ever, apparently, for multiple shows. And I had a lot of fun sending gifts to people that day. And it wasn't, she's 80 years old. You want people, of course, not to pass away, but, you try to think about the happy memory she's left us with. And go play, here's some money, was it a go watch a Star Wars or whatever? Was it? That's that one.
I mean, how much could a banana cost? $10?
Yeah. Just there's so many classic lines from her on that show specifically. And that show literally has perfect casting. So she nailed it in that. And, it was sad to see her go, but just reminded me of I should watch Arrested Development again.
Yeah, that was my family text thread where a bunch of GIFs and quotes. Like the main family in Arrested Development, I am one of 4 siblings. So, having a mom say, hey, you're my 3rd least favorite child and things like that, all those comments and the math,
Mark, should we decide which one of them Stefan is? Which of the Bluth kids? Because I think, any of the answers is offensive if it isn't Michael, right? Which one do you think Stefan?
There's one good one, right?
I mean, it's which one personality-wise, but the one everyone quotes me as is obviously my siblings would call me Buster because I'm the baby and the baby. I'm the baby and the favorite, and I can say that proudly because I'm pretty sure my siblings aren't listening to this podcast, but I'm the favorite.
But yeah, I mean, if you've never seen Arrested Development, of course, you probably should. At this point, why haven't you? But you probably have you've probably seen her, you probably heard her or seen her between Archer and Arrested Development. 2 massively successful TV shows. So, rest in peace to Miss Jessica Walter.
Yeah, nice. So I'll round us out. I got a couple things backlog from weeks prior. I apparently have been on a big Canadian sitcom kick because after finishing Schitt's Creek, shortly after that, I had seen advertisements for it before and completely had written it off. But me and Christine actually gave Letterkenny a solid try. It is on Hulu, and I can easily recommend it. It is a fantastic show. And like I said, when I first saw advertisements for it, I thought it was masculine toxicity, the show, because the advertisements were just like a bunch of dudes fighting each other and some hot broads onto the side. And I was just like, what is this? But basically it's about some, self-proclaimed hicks in Ontario. And the writing is just top notch. If you like wordplay and puns, the show's got it in doubles. Really fun characters. And maybe it's a Canadian thing. I don't really know. Short seasons. I think each season was 7 episodes long. It's still ongoing. They eventually got picked up by Hulu. I think it's like a Hulu exclusive now. And honestly, that's my biggest gripe about the show is it's on Hulu and they have fucking commercial breaks. And that just makes every, 22 minute episode 30 minutes. And you see the same ads over and over again. But the show's
isn't that on you, Mark, at that point, though? Couldn't you solve the commercial problem?
I guess if I want to pay even
for $3
more. But the thing that really unsold me on that is that I heard that even if you pay the premium, you can still get some ads. It's like, I'm not going to pay more money and then still have to sit through some fucking ads. Like, that is just bullshit.
I've heard really good things about that show, though, honestly.
It is really good.
You sent me a clip, but I'd heard it was good stuff.
Yeah, and that's kind of, I had been hearing good things, and, we kind of needed a new sitcom, so I was like, you know what, let's give this a shot. And it won us over within the first episode. It's an easy recommendation. Another show that, Steph actually recommended a while ago, I gave a shot to, and it didn't, the first couple episodes didn't really click with me, but I went back to it, and I ended up just loving it, is Kim's Convenience. This is on Netflix. This is another Canadian show. About a Korean family and their convenience store and their family and their kind of, misadventures they get into. I think it's one of those sitcoms that I think is really easily watched. It's not super, I don't think the storylines are going for a lot early on. I think, as you get more used to the characters and some of their story arcs, I do think it does carry a heavier note. And I think in these later seasons, it kind of does that pretty well. But after coming back to it, I really do like the show. I really love the show, and I'm anticipating the next 5th season coming on Netflix soon. I really appreciated that show. Another show that actually just started that I really liked, and the first review I saw for it wasn't super amazing, is Invincible on Amazon. So Invincible is actually an animated series based off of Robert Kirkman's first comic with Image, which is basically his superhero comic. And I remember hearing about it for a long time. And when I finally gave the comic a shot, it was after I had been pretty involved with the MCU. So I was very tuned up for some superhero-like antics. And the series and this animated series, I mean, it takes a lot from Marvel and DC. They switch it up and put their own spin on it, but a lot of the characters are like, okay, that's obviously their Wonder Woman. This guy's like Superman. This guy's like Batman. It does a really good job. And I think one of the things I told Steph earlier when I was telling about the show, I think the voice acting in it is pretty solid and it does the characters justice. They obviously went for a lot of big name actors. And 2 of the actors, one we've already mentioned Jason Mantzoukas, and another one that plays Omni-Man, one of the main characters, is J.K. Simmons. Those 2 guys' voice are just so unique. When they do their first line, it's like, oh, Christine was like, who's that guy? I was like, oh, that's J.K. Simmons. Like, oh, that's right. Because it's hard to really have these characters have their own identity when you are able to ID who's doing the voice so quickly. I still think they do a great job. I think they give a good voice to those characters. They're just so iconic. They kind of stick out immediately. I think Stephen Yu, who does Invincible, actually does a really good job. I couldn't, and it's probably because I haven't seen him in as much stuff, but I couldn't tell it was him at all. He just seemed like a white suburban kid as far as I could tell. I think the show is really fun. I think what Amazon has kind of gone for, and this is what the comics did too, is they're definitely playing up the superhero, but more grounded, realistic, and gritty. I would say more violent in this tenure. Like I heard early on, like, oh, this show's pretty violent, which the comic is too. And it's not until like the end of the first episode they really ranch that shit up, and it kind of shocks you a little bit just how gory and violent the show is. But it's really good. IGN gave the first episodes a 6. So I had low expectations, but after watching it, I was like, I really like this show. I'm looking forward to it each week. So they're doing the boys thing where they put 3 episodes out at once, and they're going to do weekly installments from there. You have a question?
Yeah, what I would ask you, Mark, is because the thing is, I don't want to go in on too much spoilers. I never read Invincible as much as, as familiar as I am with Kirkman from Walking Dead and all that stuff. But the one name that kind of seems to obviously come up as a comparison is The Boys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I was just curious how you would compare the two in terms of content and subject matter.
It definitely, I mean, I think you can compare it to The Boys, where it's not like like adult themed with them like getting into sexual stuff. It's really just the gore. And what's weird is I heard it was very gory watching it. And like the first scene, they have a big fight scene and it's not that gory. There's like some blood and stuff, but it's really, they ranch up the gore when you really need it. Something major happens that is extremely unexpected. And I think they really punctuate that scene by having like an extremely gory, violent scene to really punctuate like, oh, you didn't expect this to happen and you didn't expect this show to be as graphic as it is. Other than that, like, I think it's funny, it's clever, which is, these are all things when I read the comic, like I really got into the comics because they were really well written. And even though they're treading on well-traveled territory, like a lot of the stuff is, like I said, just ripped from Marvel and DC, but they put their own spin on it that kind of makes it unique in its own. And then, there's some twists and turns. I thought they would get to the big twist earlier than they have so far. I mean, they basically, in the first episode, you kind of get allude to it, but the comic was really interesting, and I think the show does the comic a lot of justice. So I'm super pleased with what I saw. And I would definitely recommend, it's another, all these shows I recommended today, these are easy recommends. A lot of times when we do stuff we like, I might preface it like, I really like this. I don't know if you will. If you like X, Y, and Z, maybe this will be up your alley. All of these things are just easy sells. So I really enjoyed it. Now Friday's an easy superhero day for me because we got Falcon and Winter Soldier. I thought episode 2 was great. We're going to get into that when we kind of wrap up the whole series. And then Invincible's really been rounding out that whole kind of superhero Friday for me. But that's all I got. So I think that
when you said animated series, I thought I'm like, oh, Mark's going to talk about the Great North. Mark started watching the Great North.
I have not. I've seen the people.
I watched 5 episodes.
Is it any good?
I like it. It kind of is. It doesn't. I'm directly comparing it to Bob's Burgers because it's the Bob's Burgers people.
Yeah,
it's also the same people. It didn't get me the way Bob's Burgers did immediately.
Right.
But like a few episodes in, I'm just like, I'm at the point now where I'm not just hearing Ron Swanson, and I'm not just hearing like the SNL guys in there, and there's a couple other voices that I recognize. And like the thing I do dig is that the girl's imaginary friend is Alanis Morissette.
Okay.
And she's in
There's
the sky.
another Bob's Burger people show.
Yeah, because there was one on Apple TV too.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, my sister, since we had just watched, she introduced me to Ted Lasso via Apple TV. She showed me Central Park with Josh Gad, which I was like, oh, this is 100% the Bob's Burger art style, and that same kind of humor. I'm like, oh, they got multiple shows going. All right.
Well, this is like the writers, like the Molyneux sisters, who like wrote for Bob's Burgers and have been the whole time. I'm not sure if it's, I forgot the name of the guy, Lauren whatever, who runs Bob's Burgers.
Yeah,
Bouchard,
Lauren,
I think.
Yeah, Bouchard, something like that. Yeah.
But this pretty much is like, it's a family up in Alaska. Nick Offerman's a single dad, and he's got a bunch of kids. Like, I think like the lead is the oldest daughter. I think Jenny Slate. You probably recognize her from a bunch of stuff. But then you have like Will Forte, sounds like Will fucking Forte.
Right.
That's what he sounds like in everything. And, but like Megan Mullally's in there. Offerman's wife's in there. And Alanis Morissette as the imaginary friend. I like it partly because like she's in the sky and I'm like, she's reprising her character of God from Dogma.
Dogma,
that makes me happy. Yeah. I dig it. It's not Bob's. I love Bob's Burgers. I probably like it more than any of us talking right here. It's one of my favorite animated series ever. So I was going to give this a chance no matter what. And I like it. As I'm 5 episodes in. I think there's been a couple more. I'll probably watch it, later tonight, some of it. But I didn't bring it up in stuff we like because I'm not sure how much yet. But I thought maybe you had because I know you'll watch pretty much any animated comedy show eventually.
Yeah,
Bobby, that's just the Mike special. I'm watching something. I don't know how
I thought Mark was going to jump in on it. I was waiting for Mark to jump in.
I hadn't jumped on that one, and there is also another season of Solar Opposites on Hulu too. So there's a lot of good stuff out there. There's always some good stuff on streaming. It's just hard to find what's good and what's worth your while. So I definitely do want to try those out. But I think that's gonna do it for this episode. I want to thank you guys for listening. Thanks for Bobby letting me host. A little rocky here and there, but it's like the kid on the training wheels. Right when you take those wheels off, you're gonna have a couple spills here and there, but we're rolling. And next week we're gonna be breaking down the next UFC card. We have Till and Marvin Vittori. Not much else after that. We got
hashtag Team Marvin over here, boys.
Rooting for Marvin. We got Sam Alvey still on the card.
The preview, Mike or Mark. We're picking Askren versus Paul. That's the fight card we're breaking.
I think we actually get to pick ONE FC next week too. I think they're doing that. Right?
The Askren thing should be a week after. That's the.
But we got ONE FC.
What's in ONE FC?
I think we get Demetrius' fight. I think they start their US shows that week.
Oh, okay.
I think Demetrius is on there.
Yeah, so we're rolling. We're rolling after this episode. But yeah, I want to thank you guys. I do want to give a shout out to Mike, not only, for, just being part of the podcast. I've been enjoying the stuff he's been putting on YouTube. I do recommend you guys watch. I think a lot of people watch the podcast. I got to give a shout out to his Stuff We Like. Mike takes the time. He puts in those memes. He puts in those GIFs. It makes it fucking entertaining. He's talking about George St. Pierre, and he's got the tough memes going on. I'm like, Mike's getting into this. He's making this fun.
Mike, I want the GIF of the New Day superimposed with Adesanya, Usman, and Ngannou.
I feel bad.
I want that.
He's putting in extra work to put that stuff in. God bless him. But yeah, I want to. And thanks for everyone for listening and watching the stuff on YouTube. However you consume our podcast, super appreciative of it. But that's going to do it for this week. So I want to thank Dr. Law, Kid Presentable, myself, DJ Mark. See you guys next week.
Cheers.